There was also, the BBC interview right after it happened where they were interviewing a guy and he recounted the whole thing where he said he saw somebody going up on the roof with a
Right.
rifle, were pointing at him for 2 to 3 minutes saying like, hey, there's a guy up there with a
Right.
rifle up there.
Right.
Um, so it seems like, yeah,
Yeah.
they had ample time and
Right. And
but
probably like the snipers um, behind Trump were alerted. You could see that they were getting positioned slowly before they had seen him. They were trying to. I guess it's not quite so easy to get him in your scope because that's a very narrow field of vision. But they were focusing on they were where they may have been notified, because of what the spectators had said. But again, it's just like the question that comes in their mind is like, wait a second, is this okay? We should have had somebody up there earlier. Maybe finally they got somebody up there, meaning like one of our guys, or local law enforcement or something. It just wasn't clear. It should never have gotten to that point. Obviously, it should never have gotten to that point. They're just.
So what is your theory? Do you think it's incompetence, or do you think that there's some malfeasance, conspiracy at play here?
Well, okay, I can't say that it's not a conspiracy because just the deep hatred that people in the deep state have for Donald Trump. We've seen what they did. Like they pulled out all the stops in the first term, the Russiagate conspiracy, and this came out of the FBI, right? And the CIA. And then there's the fact that Tucker Carlson, apparently was told by one of his sources that that Donald Trump actually feared like the Secret Service and in general the security state, and that he either he was going to have to like clean the stables or he was just going to have to keep them happy and focus on other things, just not do anything that that would anger them, that would trigger them. He apparently like his campaign was already kind of afraid of an assassination attempt. He was talking about if he became president. So there are reasons to believe that this could be. But then there's also just a lot of incompetence in the world. Let's be frank. And I generally, my default explanation is incompetence because I think usually that explains what happens in the world. I admit that sometimes there are conspiracies, but I guess I say incompetence until you can prove otherwise. There was an additional piece of information that came out recently that might explain why this incompetence, why we had this incompetence, at this venue, and why maybe they didn't have enough snipers. They should have had another sniper on that roof, right? Apparently, Jill Biden had some sort of event in Pittsburgh, not too far away, and that a lot of the Secret Service resources, their personnel have been diverted to that, and actually, so Trump ended up with fewer people and also with less experienced people. Now, this is just something I saw like an hour ago. I think it was reported by Politico, and then the source wasn't named, but that might explain what happened. But then the question is, okay, well, that may not be a conspiracy, but that does seem outrageous, diverting resources to Joe Biden, right?
Well, Hunter Biden always gets a Secret Service detail as well. It seems like the Biden family always, had Secret Service for whatever they did. And it's, they denied Secret Service detail to, Robert Kennedy, which is, is a bit of a shame. So it seems like, the Secret Service apparatus seems to be very attached to the Biden administration more. They may have more control over directing it completely, which would feed into the conspiracy a bit. And the conspiracies are always fun, and I agree that the incompetence angle is definitely very plausible, feasible, especially if you said, there hasn't been an assassination attempt in over 43 years. It's easy for people to kind of relax, because think
Yeah.
about it. The
Well,
day-to-day
yeah.
life of a Secret
Right.
Service is nothing. Every day you wake up,
Yeah.
nothing's going to happen today.
Right.
Nothing's happened for
Right.
40
Yeah.
years. It's hard to keep
Exactly.
a heightened sense of
Yeah.
alertness.
That's very true. That's what I was thinking. Like with the snipers, you can blame them, but you think, they've probably done this kind of thing, hundreds and hundreds of times. Nothing ever happens. And they may have
Right.
had some fairly similar incident. This probably was, something they clearly were concerned. But sometimes, you think you see something and then it turns out that no, it's not what you thought. And you say,
Right.
geez, God, I'm glad I didn't pull the trigger. I could have killed that guy, So, yeah, I think that's part of what's going on.
Well, if it was a conspiracy, it'll be hard to know, if we'll ever get the truth, because of course the state is taking over the investigation. The FBI is taking over the investigation. And we know that the FBI and the CIA have been working for years. You brought up the Russiagate, the whole Mueller investigation, all the stuff that the deep state that were trying to frame Trump to say that there was Russia collusion. There's
Right.
clearly the deep state just has decided that they cannot stomach Donald Trump, that he
Right.
can't be president. And we've talked about this, that the rhetoric that's been coming out of the establishment and deep state is that they won't allow it. So what does that mean? Does that mean that what will they do to try to prevent Trump from being president? We've seen the lawfare, we've
Right.
seen all of these cases brought against Trump. They didn't work. They made him stronger. And then the logical conclusion is like, well, how far can you go? The next step would have to be assassination, right? I mean,
Right.
and that's the thing. If you have said for so long that this guy is a fascist, dictator, totalitarian, tyrant, monster, equating him to Hitler over and over again,
Right.
then
He's going to end democracy in America, right?
right, he's a threat to democracy, and this is the narrative that a lot of people have bought in. So, okay, if the deep state truly believes that, then it should be their prerogative to do whatever they can to prevent this guy from becoming president. We try lawfare, we try whatever we can. Well, we have to take him out in order to save democracy, to prevent a dictatorship, prevent the rise of Hitler in America. And it's an absurd line of thinking, but that is what a lot of people are thinking, I think, within the deep state. And then just the fact that the establishment, the media have been pushing this narrative for so long.
Right.
And, we've talked about Trump derangement syndrome. I know a lot of people personally that have Trump derangement syndrome. It's something that everybody knows, that they know somebody that just, the thought of Trump just starts to make them shake and quiver and just get filled with rage,
Right.
I have one of my good buddies, his dad's a super Trump guy. I love just saying, Trump lines and saying "Make America Great Again," because he just starts spilling expletives, and it's just it's a real reaction.
Yeah,
and
it is
so
right.
people really believe this, and if you truly believe that, then you something like this would be expected if it wasn't coming from the deep state itself. That believes that Trump is a true threat to democracy and a threat to America as a whole, then there are enough individuals in society, I would say 25, 30% of America has Trump derangement syndrome. And so if all those people believe that Trump is the second coming of Hitler, it just stands to reason that this was going to happen eventually at some point. Somebody has to take Hitler out. But then the funny thing is that there are all these people all these pundits, the media, everybody, even Biden himself, not quite equating him to Hitler, but pretty close, saying that, he's a real threat to democracy.
Yeah. An existential threat.
Right. He's an existential threat. And then this assassination happens. And then it puts the left and the establishment, the media, in a very tough position, because now they're like, well, there's no place for political violence. But it's like, wait, you just said he was Hitler or worse than Hitler. So why are you... why are you saying that? Thank God he's safe. Don't we want to kill Hitler?
You should say, "Damn, he missed."
Right. Which
if you're going to be consistent.
People have. Right. Some people have openly said it.
Not people in positions of power, but
right, because they know they can't. But you were making this argument that he was just as bad as he was a Hitler-esque character. So then the moral thing, if you want to be intellectually consistent, is to say that, oh, damn, that guy missed, but we were so close to saving democracy. If only we have to try again. Got to take Hitler out, right? So it puts the media in a really tough position. How do you think they're going to play this? How are they going to work on this? They can't, demonizing him after this attempt and the way he responded to it is going to be harsh because it's going to get more and more backlash because a lot of people, and rightfully so, are blaming the media for this because I would say it is their fault, and because they have fomented this Trump derangement syndrome to the point where something like this was bound to happen, in my opinion.
Right. I guess I would say that we don't know really what the motivations of this person are. So, it may be that he was affected. It seems quite possible, even likely that he was, and that it does explain what he did, but we just don't know for sure. But just put that aside. It actually just doesn't change, the facts that you were laying out. I mean, the media and, the political establishment have created this atmosphere, in which, right, violence is justified. Let's be honest again, right? If he really is the second coming of Hitler, then you need to take him out, right? I remember actually like people discussing this ethical question, like back when I was back in the 70s and 80s, like if we knew that this person was a future Hitler and what he would do, wouldn't we need to kill him? And, a lot of people would argue that, this was an abstract ethical argument, but people made it. And it was, it was considered, it wasn't considered a vile position to say that, we would need to commit this act of violence to prevent greater violence, right? It's, so, yeah, again, if these people are serious about what they're saying, then at least a lot of them ought to back it up and say, well, right, he does somebody does need to take him out. Some people have come, even like I think Robert Kagan came very close to saying that, Mr. Neocon, that he needs to be eliminated.